Hey everybody, if you are enjoying what we have to share so far, don't forget to stay tuned every week, every Sunday for more. Like, subscribe, and if you're willing, make sure to share as well so if anyone you know is struggling, they can also hear the message that we're trying to reach across.
Welcome, everybody, to the Broken Heroes Club podcast. I'm so lucky to have you guys back here for episode 2 now. Episode 2 of this podcast. It's going to be a good one. Today, Jake and I, we're going to discuss the importance of saying, fuck your feelings. I like that we can work with that, too. And we don't say fuck your feelings to be insensitive to you. Like, your feelings are valid. What you feel is important to how your body reacts to certain situations. We're not saying completely disregard your feelings. We're just saying your feelings lie to you.
When you mention I'm going to use this myself, like you said. For me, I just correlate it with, we'll say, depression or anxiety and how it lies to me. So when I'm super anxious, I'll notice my thoughts will start racing over and over and over about things that either sometimes don't even exist, worries that I make up in my own mind, and I'll play scenarios in my head of things that haven't even happened. And if you think about it, it really is not only my emotions but my mind lying to me of things that don't even exist. And for me, it's about being able to catch those thoughts in the moment. Because before, I couldn't do it. I would literally let it overcome me.
Well, Jake, I just want to say thank you so much for that, because I can really relate to how you were saying that you can almost feel yourself become just suffocated by your feelings. I feel like when your feelings are that suffocating, it's hard to listen to that voice in your head that's pointing you in the right direction. The Spirit trying to lead you out of that darkness. And it's hard to follow God when you're surrounded by all the doubt, all those seeds of doubt that were planted over the periods of your life where you've been struggling. And for us to overcome those seeds of doubt, we have to remember that our feelings lie to us. They really do. Just because I feel a certain way does not mean that I cannot go and do the things that I know I need to do to be productive. But that's what you were saying, is that if we listen to our feelings too much, that's when we become depressed. That's when we become over anxious and our anxiety takes over, because you're thinking about things that you can't control. You have no control over those things, and that's what makes you feel anxious, is because you don't have control. When you lose control of whatever it is, you don't know what the outcome's going to be. And that's a scary place to be, is not knowing what could possibly happen. But that's why it's so important that when we feel this way, we reach our hands out to God and we ask Him to guide us and to lead us and to walk us through the paths that we can't see. Faith is walking a path without seeing the end. Faith is walking a path with no light. We don't know if we're going to stumble over sticks and stones or whatever may be on that path. But why faith is so important and why it's so powerful is shows God that we have all confidence in Him, that He won't let us fall. He won't let us stumble if we hold on to His hand. And what does that mean? So for me, walking in faith means in my darkest days, in my most unknown hours, having faith brings me peace. That's how I can be peaceful in those hours, because I know at the end of the day, God won't let me fall. God will be there to carry me. And that's critical, because a lot of people say they have faith or they know God, but you don't truly know God until God is the only thing you have left to hold on to. And that's where I've been in my life. I've been to the point to where like the only thing I could do is reach out and hold God's hand.
I mean, I can tie so much of that together too, because there was a time where I used to say, you know, I had all this faith, and I always believed in a higher power, and I believed in God, but to me it was almost like I never truly leaned on him. I never truly trusted my feelings and my life with him. And I can't tell you exactly when the shift happened, but the minute I started, praying more, having just, conversations more, but actually like developing that relationship, I just noticed that shift more, and I keep noticing it more, because I'm still not, I'm still walking on a path too, just like you are, and I don't have it all figured out. But I do know when I lean deeper, like, towards God, things in my life kind of start to align, and I start to see it, the picture becomes more clear. I almost like can see more like of the path that is being opened up. And the biggest thing with faith to me is like having like real true faith, in my opinion, is even when you don't see God working in your life, it's still knowing that he's there with you no matter what. For the longest time, in my darkest moments, and when I truly felt like I was alone and had nothing and no one, like that thought and that like belief that I had developed like changed everything. And to this day, like slowly things do seem to get better, which kind of ties into, again, sometimes we got to say like fuck our feelings, because and I like to use the gym as an example. Like, no one likes to put their body through pain. Some people do. If you do, sorry. but that's what we're doing. Like, because there's times where I want to be alone. I'm having a rough day, but I know what I need to get done still. And I know I need to go, work on my physical body. And I don't want to. There's days I don't want to at all. But it's pushing past that, saying fuck my feelings, and just doing it. Because especially anxiety too. If I'm super anxious, and like most of the time going to like the gym and just pushing through it will get rid of, or at least take care of, the anxiety temporarily. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a matter of doing it.
The gym was a perfect example of how those feelings can lie to us, right? So one thing about our feelings is they can make us feel uncomfortable, but we get comfortable being in that place because our brain is hardwired to think that way. In order to change that, as David Goggins always says, shout out to David Goggins for just being as influential as he is and just pushing his body to the absolute limit, and you don't have to go as hard as David Goggins, but at the same time, David Goggins has a great point, and he says it quite frequently. He says, we have to become comfortable being uncomfortable, because when we're uncomfortable, that's when the growth is. That's when we learn to grow as much as we can. And I just want to say too, like, our feelings that make us comfortable, and we listen to those, and those are the feelings that want us to stay in bed. Those are the feelings that want us to sulk instead of find solutions to our problems. Those are the feelings that if we listen to on a regular basis, we're not going to grow into the people that we are supposed to be, the ones that God has planned for us to be. We're not going to ever achieve our purpose if we keep listening to our feelings. So that was a great point. And another thing is about our feelings is when I listen to my feelings, I tend to do what I want. I tend to do whatever it is that I want. I spend money on whatever I want. I go out whenever I want. I have fun whenever I want. Hank's upset. But, and those are the types of feelings that I got to realize, like, when I do what I want, I'm listening more to my flesh than I am my spirit. So I have to make sure that my spirit is stronger than my flesh. And to do that is to try to figure out what God's will is for me. So I have to silence those anxiety voices. I have to make sure I'm not becoming stagnant in my search for God. Because God's there for us, but we have to be willing to knock on the door, to open that door. There's a good saying out there, and I won't say exactly where I got it from, but for those of you that are listening, know this, that the only key for anything in life is willingness. You have to be willing to admit that you're at fault. You have to be willing to want to grow. You have to be willing to search a relationship with God. You have to be willing to do all these things. If you're not willing, you're missing the most important step.
And what is that most important step?
Like we said in the first podcast, that most important step is accepting that everything that's happened is because of what you've done. And the only way that's going to change is if you choose to change your actions. You have to be willing to change. Because what you're doing is not working. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. In order to become sane again, you have to learn that your will, the wants of your flesh, are not as important as God's will, the needs of your spirit. Because God will give you what you need, while the flesh just looks for instant gratification. Instant gratification through porn, through eating, through taking a nap, sleeping all day.
So yeah, Chris, that's a big one too. Especially when we become overcome with our feelings and we just listen to our feelings and we start living a life ran off of self-will instead of God's will. Because a lot of times I have a feeling that God isn't going to put us through tests that will give us instant gratification. Because like you said, how would we grow from that? A lot of the struggle, loss that we experience, once we make it through it, and we can learn to no longer run off of self-will, we no longer chase instant gratification. Because like I said, for me, especially when I was at my low point, like that's all my instant gratification came from going out every weekend and just blowing all my money, downing as many drinks as I could possibly take, talking to people that didn't really have my best interests, but it was just the fact that it was like I was getting acknowledged in that moment. Oh, and I'm living life. And I really wasn't, though. I was just damaging myself, my spirit, my body, my mental health, everything. But it wasn't until, like you said before, as I keep giving up my self-will, because I'm not perfect, I'm human, and there's days where I run off of Jake's world, it's Jake's world, Didn't mean to repeat that twice, my bad. But
it was worth repeating.
When I no longer run off of Jake's will and I start asking for direction for God's will, things start to get better. They just do. Because I'm no longer searching inward. I'm looking outward, and I'm no longer trying to be selfish. I'm trying to be selfless for God. And you're not meant to always like get all the answers right away. It's not always going to be put right in front of you. A lot of the times, it does take work, and it does take, you mentioned in the first episode, acknowledging it, being accountable, knowing like, okay, if I'm going to change, I need to put in the work for me, and I can assume you follow God's will. Things do steadily become clear. They just do, because we are shifting our mindset to our goals, to our aspirations, to no longer wanting to be in that emotional suffering, I'll call it, and just catching ourselves. And with time, it gets easier. It's never gonna be completely easy, but it becomes part of like almost like daily life. It just becomes natural. And then you'll naturally, at least for me, naturally start to no longer be so negative or consumed by these dark feelings, or like being sad all the time, or like you said, wanting to be in bed all the time, because I still struggle with that. On some days I struggle with it, but it's the fact of, instead of just letting it completely consume me, I catch it, I say fuck my feelings, and I search and ask God for his direction. And sometimes I don't always get the answer, but at least in that moment, my mind goes to where I like to think it should be at.
That was a beautiful take. That was a very beautiful take, and it's very true. Is that you're right. We're not perfect, but good thing God doesn't ask for perfection. God asks for progress, and we try to be better. And, some days are harder than others, and that's a fact. Like for me yesterday, I thought I was going to have a very productive day. I got home from the gym. We had a great workout, by the way. If you want to see more workout videos, go over to Legacy Lawton on TikTok and give it a follow. You will see some workout videos that I'm going to start doing more often on that platform. I think I'm going to use that account more so for my workouts. And I'm going to use this account, obviously, for our podcast. But I want to say that was a beautiful take that you had there. And also want to make sure that it's known that I'm not claiming, and Jacob's not claiming, to be an expert at God and understanding God's will and understanding, how God works and how God moves. Only thing that we're doing is we're talking about how God works in our lives. We're working hand in hand with God to become better. And you guys get to see that firsthand. We struggle with it. There are times to where, I am not the best version of myself. When I got home from the gym yesterday, I scrolled on my phone for 5-6 hours. It happens. Yeah. Like, I get caught in something interesting, and then I hyper focus on it, and next thing you know, it's midnight, and I should be in bed, you know? So it's like, we're not perfect at it. We're not saints by any mean. But what we are is we're trying. On a daily basis, we're trying to do better. We're trying to do God's will over our will. And some days it looks great. And other days it looks messy, like we don't know what we're doing. Because we don't. We don't know what we're doing. Disclosure, fun fact, I don't have all the answers. But I do know a few things about overcoming struggles. I do know a few things about being resilient. I do know a few things about how discipline and God has worked in my life. And for that, I want to stress to you that when I talk about these things, I'm talking from experience because I've lived them. I've been in the darkest days. I've seen hours of nights to where I'm just laying in bed with my eyes open, knowing I can't sleep because of the nightmares that I would get. I've woken up in cold sweats. I've done it. I've been there. I've been a failure. I felt like a failure before. I felt like no matter what I did in life that it didn't matter. But now, I walk in light. I walk hand in hand with God. And I have a feeling of serenity and peace with me. Because I know no matter how dark the times get, He will not let go of my hand.
I'm just speaking from the heart. Every time you tell about your experience, like, it fills me with hope, dude. It makes me want to try even harder to walk even closer with God. Like, and I think that's so important too, like having and surrounding yourself with people who are on not the same path, but are walking similar paths to you. Because it will make your day go by easier. It'll fill you with hope. It'll, like, at least for us, like, never before have I wanted to achieve my goals, my dreams more than, like, in this moment, I'll say, as an example. And, like, that's very powerful to me. And that's a big thing, is you have to find those people who inspire that out of you, who aren't afraid to tell you, like, just like, hell, you can use us as an example. Like, we're not going to, again, not to be offensive, but, like, you need people in your life that'll be like, hey, like, I know you're feeling this way, but you know what you need to do. You've talked about X, Y, Z. I'm here to help you get back on track. And that's the biggest thing. It is so crucial, because even when you think you can pull yourself out, you're essentially giving yourself a crutch. You're giving yourself a handicap when you can find people who will want the best from you, who, you know, will help you and push you to be better and to achieve your goals and to walk a better path. And that, I can't say enough, that is so crucial. And the biggest thing is because you don't have to walk it alone. And that just clicked with me sitting here, like, and I've kind of always known it, but I don't think people hear it enough. And the biggest reason why I mention it is because the nights just alone in my thoughts, just darkness. Like, I don't have to be putting myself through that, like, ever. Because even when you're alone, and you'll always have God, once you have those people who show that they don't care if you mess up. They cheer you on when you're doing good things. They pour their heart to you, even when you don't always show up, or, you might make promises and you don't always uphold them, but they're still there because they know what you've been through, because they've had the same experiences and they know what it's like to be there. You can't put a price on it. You can't.
I think it's funny how everything we talk about in this podcast, this episode, and the previous episode, they all go hand in hand at the end of the day. Like the beginning episode, that first episode, it was choppy. Let's be honest, right? It was all over the place. We were talking about so many different things, but this topic right here, we can relate everything that we talked about from the first podcast to tie it towards this podcast, because these tools that we're teaching you are important and they go hand in hand with each other. Because at the end of the day, what we have to do is we have to say fuck our feelings. We have to decide to put ourselves first. It's okay to be selfish when you need help. It's not being selfish. It's being selfless. In the sense of saying, I need help so I could be there for you. I need help so I can better be there. So I can better do the will of God. I can't do the will of God if I'm struggling. It's just how it is. So I'm looking at you. I know you've been through a lot. I know you've been through struggle. Through heartbreak, through grief, through loss, through something traumatic. I know you've been through it. And I'm telling you, yes, you're not alone. I'm willing to walk side by side, hand in hand with you through this podcast. I know God is willing to walk hand in hand, side by side, or in front of us to lead us to where we need to be. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, matter of fact, I'm telling you, do not give up hope. Do not give up. Keep walking, one step at a time. Keep doing the next right thing. Remember, like we like to say in this podcast, we may fall, we may fail, but we will always rise above. Thank you for tuning in to the Broken Hero Club's podcast. I really do appreciate your guys' time, and I'm really interested to see what kind of suggestions you have for us. So please, comment. Don't forget to like. Also, subscribe. It's real easy. It's all about clicking a button. And if you want to go one further, something I didn't even ask for, but I would appreciate, you hit that share button too. Send it to somebody that you know is struggling. Send this podcast to somebody that you know plays on their feelings way too much. Feelings are there to help guide us. My psychiatrist always said, our feelings are there as signals in our brain to trigger the fight, flight, or freeze response. Treat those feelings just as they are. They're just signals. They're not the honest truth. So please, do us all a favor and come back again next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Central Time, the Broken Hero Club podcast. Jake, you got any words to say?
And if you haven't been told yet, you're very much loved.